Hi, we are back. It is evening. We haven't gotten any cake yet.
Well, I'm really sad. We got a
Yeah.
lot of candy, and I've been skimming off of it, which is even worse.
Yeah. If any kids do come, I mean, I'm starting to doubt it, but if any do, we'll have to take that.
We'll pause. But,
Yeah.
it's already 8 o'clock here, and we haven't had a single one, and we've been ready since 4:30.
Yeah.
So.
And it's been dark for an hour and a half, so I'm finding it highly doubtful, but it'd be cool if somebody did.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Alrighty. Let's do this. A Steely Samurai. How funny. See if I couldn't get Hurley into a jam against some Bartitsu Master ninjas. You might not find as many of those sorts of people around as you think. Oh, well that's dull. Ooh, but I do know a prosecutor with a Chanmaid's top knot I could introduce you to. We already saw this.
Yeah.
There we go. Government policy. Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower, it's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True, it was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed, carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean. The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odd spot of public safety infringements. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see. Yes, I suppose that's true in a way. So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on scientists' rights at the moment. What sort of rights? They're making it so that any theories the brains have remain the legal property, as it were, right through developing it into a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because this new highfalutin... We've listened to this too! Did I, not save and this is back to the autosave, or what?
Must have.
Some random department at the yard, the forensic investigation team. Well then, let's go through this part. We can't do a flaming thing. Poor Gregsy. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here? Are you having me add it, Sunshine? It's a special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Yes, I think Hurley mentioned that recently, with a twinkle in his eye, as I remember. I'm sure he did, your ladyship, I'm sure he did. Pass especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions in some suit in the civil service, and if it gets rubber stamped, it's a guaranteed right to maintain the invention's confidentiality. What does that really mean? I like how he goes right back into that the minute you start speaking. Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself. Thanks for that. Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun. It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say. Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job. You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers' bogus contraptions. But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point. Yeah, well, there is a point, sadly. Sorry? Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas, if any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant. The scientists get funding? Exactly, and that's what they're all after. And these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science, hang it! Oh, maybe I can see your point. Apparently Professor Harebrained lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research. That's right, came back to Britain especially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants. Oof. Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. about his time in further education. It turns out he was at university with someone we both know, Lord Von Zieks. Eh? What's that? That's news to me. But if Von Zieks mans the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is sealed, because the Reaper will get him one way or another. Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Von Zieks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that? Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper's completely fine. Nothing to worry about. Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long's that business gonna keep up, I wonder? The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Assman. He was one of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard. Lord Barak Von Zieks is a top-class prosecutor. I actually don't know if it's Barak, Baroque, or Barak.
I like Barack.
Barak Von Zieks. Because I can see it being Baroque, since that's a type of music, and he's all...
Looks like a composer.
Yeah, of sorts anyway. A cross between a composer and a vampire. But even he can't always push the right verdict, though. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified, and that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it? Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Von Zieks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court, although the man himself denies that charge. Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Von Zieks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would. But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them. I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper. Professor Harebrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Von Zieks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. What? He said that it was after they both graduated, something happened to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Right. Are you done here, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather, it is about time you were leaving. That lot are here now. That lot? The forensic investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute, too. Oh dear, poor Grixie. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up. Ah, that hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time. Yeah, see, I remember that from last time. For whatever reason, I guess it just...
Didn't save.
Yeah. Or maybe I didn't save it, so it went back to the autosave. Which in that case, we were saved. Or, you know, maybe I loaded the autosave by mistake.
Okay.
I think that's what I might have done. I've been thinking. Hurley might know something, mightn't he? About what? About Mr. Reaper. But what happened to Lord Von Zieks, you mean? Because it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he? Here, this is what you need. What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket. Madame Tussbells. Is this supposed to mean something to me? You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like. No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big travel tomorrow. But that's where Hurley is. What? At this popular London attraction? Yes. How is it that you know where he is? Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Bruno. Madame Tussbells. Instead of Madame Tussaud?
I think so.
I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. Yeah, I remember this getting added. Let's go for it. Yeah, Museum of Wax or something. What is this place? Well, look at these terrifying scenes, but why are the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're all wax models. They're all amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked? Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies and wax ones in a magazine about strange phenomena. What?
It's, we call it grave wax, or, adipocere. It's disgusting.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a natural thing that happens when the conditions are right, especially like in Florida, like when it's wet. It's disgusting. I would not recommend it for anybody, but this is not the same.
Okay.
That's what he's referring to.
Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called,
Adipocere.
Adipocere.
Yeah.
Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere doesn't form readily, you know. It's only in very specific... Ah! What now? I've just remembered something else I read. In another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits in here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas. They can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. Oh. There's no way anybody can make models of people that are this realistic. And they're all such gruesome scenes. Now, here's the thing. Here's why I doubt your theory that Sholmes is the apprentice.
Why?
Because if he said he was going to be here, and he's here right now, I mean, yeah, he could have technically gone after, but... You know what I mean? Like, I feel that would be very strange.
Oh.
And they're all such gruesome scenes. Wait. What is it? Oh no. I must be seeing things.
Is your hand coming out from that curtain?
Yeah, let's look at this first, and then we'll say hi to Hurley. Is that an arm? Looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models has fallen over. You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you? Bruno, stop scaring me. Is it a wax arm or a real one? Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels. Objection! It's the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue in here, really? Well, he is world famous after all. That's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know. But look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley and he doesn't move a muscle. You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure, not just a little bit either. Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat on his face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look. There's a great murder scene to enjoy, much more appealing. My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes, I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo. See what I mean, though? Like, if he's the apprentice, why would he be where he said he was going to be?
Because maybe he puts the model there when he's not there.
Yeah, but he was clearly here. And why would he just stand there where the model is? question. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And that kick, could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me. Bruno has something he needs to ask you. Ah, question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored, too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that, my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have been turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you? He could know something, it's true, about Lord Von Zieks, about what happened in the past to change him. And now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For you're in luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And my eyes don't deceive me. I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. Most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that it is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow, but for now I must return to work. What? Back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? Temporary waxwork. What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half an hour I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does that mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous Irish to consider. Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry. If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your own peril. His face just changed all deadly like that. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did this final remark there sound a lot like a curse? Okay, your choice. Madam, 2 spells, or something to ask you?
Madam.
What is this place? Madame 2 Spells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the 2 Spells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed in such realism, and the expressions...
Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
No, you gotta go, because you have clothes on.
Yeah, oh god. Where am I?
I'm actually shocked we got those 3.
I know, I can't believe we got anybody, but hey, I was ready for that.
Oh, sorry, we,
well, now I know where my glasses are, so...
I hope I didn't cuss during that. He's in costume, I'm not. I'm in pajamas, so...
Ah, alright. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the face of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right here on the site of the executions. That really turns my stomach. That's just one of the several legends about the Two Spells family. Whether there's any truth to it, I couldn't say, but anyways, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Very timely we're playing this on Halloween.
I know.
Didn't really time it that way at all. Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So the hideous exhibits in here are... They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? Alright, your choice. Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Von Zieks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust? And now we tell him everything. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Von Zieks, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they have been at the university together. Got me smoking a pipe? Nope. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Von Zieks such a different person. I was sure that you'd know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? Whoops. Sir, he suddenly cleared up. Well, it seems we've reached the unavoidable greetings. Oh.
Which?
Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? And what's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious? I hope you are appreciating my museum. Sorry, have we? Mr. Sholmes, do you know this? Not again. My apologies. I am Esmeralda Two Spells. This is my museum of waxwork. What? You're the Madame Two Spells? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madame in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxwork in particular, doubting Mr. Sholmes then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. He just moved. She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Von Zieks now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Alright. The wax...
Oh, you...
What? She's drinking your water? The cat's drinking her water. Alright, do you want the waxworks, the Great Detective waxwork, or something afoot?
Let's go in order.
Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Two Spells? I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know. Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were checkered living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did, though that is when she acquired the savoir faire that leads to the astonishing lifelikeness. All these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. Hee hee. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled, in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness. That sounds terrifying. All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians, something for every taste, I hope. It was Irish to drag me straight in here, come to think of it. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. What's the situation with that? My temporary waxwork model? He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal. Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear Madame, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Ha. Naturally, I'm well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective. It's a great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms. Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services? For a mere 500... Oh, time for your cauldron of wax this very moment? Wow. Or words to that effect. Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead. Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he? I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have a 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning. Or something to that effect. Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem. Is the consulting detective work not going so well? I wonder, could I ask you something? Bien sûr. I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Oh, well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little. Oh, he's disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. Ah! There you are. Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down? My dear Madame Tuspels, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why ever not? She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I prefer no. I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is the Tuspel special exhibit. There is an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a special killer, then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Ah, Absolumenon, I think it's... Or is it just Absolute Gnome? Or Absolute... There's nothing amiss behind here. I'm trying to remember how Hercule Poirot says this, because he says this, like, in the TV series that was based on the books. I could have sworn he had said something like this, but... Nothing amiss, madame? What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? Ah. I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtain, but only a soupcon, or soup, I don't know. Number 139. I must confess I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The two-spell special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. Well then, perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, the man on the floor is the ruthless killer. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even a waxwork, in fact. What? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in the special exhibit. Why? Why would you say that? And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. Ah. She looks as pale as candle wax. I don't understand. So, Madame Two-Spells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective in temporary exhibit at work. So let's see. He's going to make 50 shillings from our corrections.
Right.
Waxworks, Fate. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Two-Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. Waxwork for sale? Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer the centerpiece of your special exhibit for the sum of £200. None. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madame, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of £200. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extortionate amount he was paying. The money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us, he collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not played with regret. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over here. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his handkerchief. Such as is worn by policemen as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. But next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him, with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle, although, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Ah, but your reaction only confirms my suspicion, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. Telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Through pence? A tragically low price, you might say. That must be up like the scarf or something. Though perhaps the going rate for aging a waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £200. This sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard, isn't that so, madame? I do not. Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. I hear kids outside.
I do too.
Wonder if we're gonna get another one soon.
Yep.
Alright, putting on my hippie glasses.
I want to peek around the corner at him.
What the heck? It's like, we're getting on odd times. Yeah. Basically, I don't know what they were owing about my costume.
I think it was, they didn't think anybody was coming to the door.
Oh. Well.
All the kitties are inside, right?
I think so. I hope so. We're checking to see if the cats are... If the cats are all inside.
I think she's in the bedroom. Let me just go check.
Yeah. Let's see who's here. There's Iris.
Yeah? She
Yep.
might not like the noise.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how she reacts to other kids.
Yeah, I'm sure
But... Oh, well, I'm glad we're getting...
6'4", so
Yeah.
So we're up to 9. And it's weird because we didn't expect them to get them this late, and those were younger than the first kids we had.
Yeah, like, I thought they were going to start coming right at sunset.
So
like,
did I.
Like when it got dark, but it's... Well, hey, I'm not complaining. It's cool.
No, they were cute.
All right. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up 1 point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. You got a name for that? I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ottermole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole. So you mean that's who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed, it is a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious countenance only too well. But is 200 pounds a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages if that puts things into perspective. So, it is quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add before I melt you down? The bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous. The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright, to make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions. Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Two Spells vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Two Spells, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Alright, so it's all about the money. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true, but I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds. Oh? She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax? If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. What's that note doing pinned on the wall here? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Two Spells, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for a safe return is 200 pounds. Half the money ready by noon on October 23rd. What? This is... It's just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Oh, I wonder if somebody took the wax figure for ransom. And she's going to pay. And so I think he works for the place, and he was like, fell from shock at reading that. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. We must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness abducting a waxwork. Ah, 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary, then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. And now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered severe shock. Ah, yes. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock, that much seems clear, but in that case, what's Madame Two Spells trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. Huh? This is just Madame Two Spells' right hand, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I clearly see her left hand, after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well, look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it's very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean it's made of wax? Oh, okay. Take that! What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you? The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact, it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it doesn't belong to you, madame. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us, he was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yeah, the killer in the special exhibit has been kidnapped. When it comes to the waxwork, alright. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard, that Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. While uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course. Right, anyway, judging from Madame Tuspel's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' seduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly.
What does it say? Oh, he has the...
Yeah.
arm.
What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that settles that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been? Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
To use this spell to find the answer, we only need to observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of course I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? You know, I find it funny that he's able to see the entire model. Like, we can't. We have to use the analog stick. But he can see it, and he still couldn't figure out that it wasn't a real person. Next, we turn the attention to that guy. But see, he has a yellow handkerchief, too. A killer policeman called Ottermole, wasn't it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money. Am I pronouncing that right?
Threepence? I don't know.
I think it's probably threepence. I don't think it's 3 pence. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds? Is this crusty old policeman Ottermole, really? Perhaps we should have a good look again and see if another idea crops up.
He's got on 2 handkerchiefs, one around his neck. Oh. Huh.
I think this might be even more important. Look at this! The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean it must be a twitch? Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch. Look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Yeah, and I want to look at the scarf on his arm. before we look at the Twitch. I don't believe it. It's a secret sign that lets other detectives know some criminal activity is underway. Yes, it's a slightly strange choice of outfit if he was trying to go unnoticed. He must be a detective disguised as a policeman. Or a detective disguised as a waxwork model of a policeman. He doesn't look like he's clever enough to think of something like that, though. Perhaps you should try to be a little more polite about him, Iris? Listen to Twitch.
Take that!
The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious Twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a Twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tussauds? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He is clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3p? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm? Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because as you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So, it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. All sorts of people visit my museum here, men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madame. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically it was. Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well, but after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then? So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor. Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry?
Is it Iris's dad?
The Professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it?
Uh-oh. Dad's Jack the Ripper. The equivalent.
Indeed did. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time that Barack von Zieks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying... So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life? As you've surmised, it was the Professor killed. Who was the Professor then? Where are you getting that he's Jack the Ripper and he's Iris's dad?
Her dad's the Professor.
You're joking, right?
Is her dad not the Professor that ended up getting killed?
Yeah, but
But we don't know why he got killed.
it was a series of... I have a hard time thinking, though, that Giselle Brett was like, I must kill this bad person.
He killed her mom.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'm just making stuff up.
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death.
Alright, then it can't be her.
And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Von Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earns such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves to the country's administration. Members of the... Ah, wait, of course. What Professor Harebrained said. Lord Von Zieks is from a family with noble blood. Well, gosh. It was the 5th victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Von Zieks. No, I don't believe it. Von Zieks? I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Von Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh yes, of course. It's been a pleasure, thank you. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involve you coming to visit me here. What?
Mm.
It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barak. I do think it's Baroque, though. It's been 10 years, but here we are, meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Asmund. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow the court will decide. Yes, I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident, a terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuted, aren't you? Prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. What time is it?
It's 9 o'clock. My neighbor just said that she sent that last batch of kids to us.
Ah, okay.
Because she said they didn't think that we were giving anything out.
Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barak, are you really? What? Never mind. I know that you may have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barak, whatever. Until tomorrow, then I'll see you in court.
You want to stop, or...?
I'd like to continue just a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of get through the preliminaries. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. Now here I am back at the Old Bailey. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo.
Well, he says, go down. He says, my friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. So he wants to lose, I think, to Lumberg.
Let's see. So Von Zieks is prosecuting.
But he admits, my friend's on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anyone else.
Yeah, but they weren't even talking about Naruhodo at that point. He said, are you really? Like he was going to ask him about being the Reaper. I know you have my best interests at heart. Like maybe he's saying he wouldn't trust the prosecution to anybody else? Good morning, Professor Harebrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here, that gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court, but are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Yes, well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial, to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Bruno, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Sherlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir, I am he. Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah yes, Rance magazine is on sale in Germany too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in The Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business and Madame Two Spells. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then, I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Ooh, then you must absolutely give it to your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite, but life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh, yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. I'm a little starstruck. I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain. Why, thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as the super-high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
It's like he was telling me at breakfast.
Yeah. Well, I know, that thing doesn't exist. I mean, it doesn't exist now, so it can't exist then. I read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Reno, and I have to say, I'm quite sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. Ha, that sounds ominous. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. We're on our way. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Rinosuke. That's the key to this case. Oh, I can't wait to see the jurors.
Good lord.
Yeah.
It's just after 9.
Alright. Got about 5 more minutes and then we'll... In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Yeah, you have nobody with you this time. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more... Aww... I'm without Susato-san today. Or Susato-san today. Ugh, it's just my imagination. Does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say that I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Von Zieks. The jury unanimously found him not guilty, because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. Those powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on October 21st, Mr. Aspen met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution, but the fact remains that Mr. Aspen's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused Professor Harebrain. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people.
I bet it was random.
Yeah, are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. So far I don't recognize those two. Or him. Science, experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials are all nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves to hang. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and, then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? What?
The correct
Yes! He's the guy in the... He's still sleeping! Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. Why does he have a gun?
I don't know. What's up with these bobbies sleeping on the job?
I don't know. That's the police killer animal lookalike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. Iris is surprised to Susato-san.
Maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Von Zieks. And this is where we're gonna save and come back to this.
We don't know when.
hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think that's a surprise, because I do feel like she's the bomb. Like, I felt sad seeing her half transparent for a bit. So, thank you for watching. I've heard raves about this case, so looking forward to seeing what the heck is going to happen.